ever watched Julio Cesar Chavez? One of the greatest of all time.
He
One of
passed
the
away?
greatest of all time. No, he's still alive.
Oh, good.
And his son is boxing now. His son is a really good boxer. Not at the level that his dad was, but Julio Cesar Chavez Sr. was one of the all-time greats.
I think it legitimizes him if he beats Chavez Jr.
I don't think so.
No.
Jake Paul, is not a boxer. You know, it's a spectacle. The Tyson event was sort of demeaning for the sport of boxing.
Joe Rogan discussed the upcoming Jake Paul versus Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. fight and said people don't take Jake seriously because he started as a YouTuber. He noted that Jake knocked out a former UFC champion with one punch, which is impressive. Rogan added that while he's not sure the fight is a great idea, it's happening regardless, and no one can really stop it at this point.
If Jake Paul wasn't Jake Paul, if he wasn't this YouTube guy, he was just a boxer, and you see a boxer knock out the former UFC welterweight champion, not just the former, but one of the best ever, knock him out with one punch like that, like, oh man, have you seen this Jake Paul dude coming up? He's fucking for real. Because nothing about watching him fight, to me, screams like he's in over his head. Nothing. He looks like a real boxer.
What's the latest with the Mike Tyson, Logan? Was it Logan Paul or
Jake?
Jake Paul.
Jake's the really good
Tell
boxer.
me about.
I'm fascinating because it's going to happen and there's nothing I can do to stop it from happening.
Do you want to stop it from
I
happening?
do not necessarily think it's a good idea for 57-year-old men to be fighting 27-year-old men. A 27-year-old me fought a 57-year-old Mike Tyson. Yeah, he'd beat the fucking shit out of me. It'd be quick. But a 27-year-old Jake Paul, who can box and has very good power, and he's very fast, and he's young. He's going to be smaller than Mike. Mike will probably weigh 230 pounds-ish, and Jake will probably weigh 200 pounds-ish. He's fought, I think he got as low as like 187 or 185 for some of his fights. He's a big guy, though, and he probably cuts weight to get there, and he won't cut weight for this at all, so maybe he will be similar in weight. Maybe he won't want to be because he'll want the speed. But he can knock people dead.
Joe Rogan acknowledges that Julio Cesar Chavez was a great boxer, but emphasizes that he is now retired and much older. Rogan says Chavez can no longer handle a full 3-minute round, and his age clearly shows in the ring. He points out that even in recent exhibition matches, Chavez did not look sharp or conditioned. According to Rogan, the legend's time has passed, and this fight might be a bad idea.
He's like, I want this fight to go. He goes, I want to get him tired. And he goes, and I have much more of a chance to get him tired if he's fighting 3-minute rounds. He's like, we're grown men. And I guess the WBC was pointing to Julio Cesar Chavez. I think had a boxing exhibition recently. I think it was Chavez. It was some legend that was retired that had a boxing exhibition recently.
Jake Paul remains one of boxing's most polarizing figures. No matter what critics say, he brings in massive viewership. His ability to draw attention is unmatched among modern boxing figures. With Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. standing opposite him, the stakes feel higher. Fans who are tired of Jake's antics hope this is the moment he finally gets humbled. It's more than a match. It's a culmination of narrative tension that audiences want, resolved inside the ring.
Able to fight, and he's taking this far more serious, and he's not struggling with addiction issues like he has for so long in his pro career. This fight does become a little bit of a dangerous one for Jake, not because Chavez Jr. is in his prime anymore. He's still going to be a shell of that early 20s Julio Cesar Chavez. But with 60 wins under his belt, if there is still any of that muscle memory left, there's still any go left in his body, because again, I hate to keep referring to it, doing drugs or having addiction issues does take its toll on your body, and sometimes it isn't recoverable, especially as you're going up in weight. Julio Cesar Chavez is not a normal cruiserweight, so he's going to be moving up as he gets older. How does that entail what he's going to do in this fight? I don't know, but I'll tell you, I watched him ringside against Uriah Hall, and it wasn't an impressive performance when he beat Uriah Hall in a 6-round fight. Honestly, when I watched the fight back, it looked like the only reason he beat Uriah Hall in that fight was because Uriah, like most MMA fighters, when they come to boxing, don't take credence of the rule set, right? They get hit with a ton of shots that don't hurt them, but also they're getting hit with shots that are scoring against them. Uriah Hall didn't look overwhelmed in that fight at all. In fact, he looked like he was in the fight with Chavez Jr. And that in its own right is pretty damning, because while he won the fight, that was Uriah Hall's first boxing match ever. And Uriah was not a young guy at that point either. The point I'm making with all this is I get what Jake is doing here, and fair play to him. Again, you do have to remember Jake didn't have an amateur career.
Manny Pacquiao offered a grounded view when asked about Jake Paul facing Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. He acknowledged that ultimately it will come down to how the judges interpret the performance in the ring. However, he expressed doubt that Jake can truly validate himself by defeating someone like Julio Jr. In Pacquiao's view. Recognition in boxing requires more than just high-profile names. It needs performances that reflect true skill and competitive merit.
On Jake Paul and Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. If Jake Paul were to win that fight, do you think it legitimizes him as a boxer?
It's hard to comment on that fight, but it's happened that way. It's up to the fans how they analyze it and how they judge it.
But from Hall of Famer Manny Pacquiao's opinion, do you think it legitimizes him if he beats Chavez Jr.?
I don't think so.
No.
Jake Paul has made it clear that he is not chasing quick viral moments anymore. His ambition is to prove himself within the boxing world as a legitimate contender. Targeting Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. is part of that strategy. Even if Julio is no longer in his prime, his name carries weight. Jake believes that beating someone with a respected boxing lineage will shift public opinion and place him among serious competitors. In the sport, it's part of his broader push to be accepted not just as a celebrity, but as a real fighter.
Got a former champion sitting over here to the left with a big name. Does this signal to the boxing world that you're looking to get back on that championship path, the pursuit of a world title?
Yeah, look, I always said it. I'm going to fight really tough people, and I'm going to fight big money fights. You know, this is prize fighting. And so I'm giving the fans what they want with every single fight, taking on tougher opponents, and this is just that.
I can't help but notice it's a cruiserweight fight. The co-main event is a cruiserweight world title. If you look just to your right, there are two belts sitting there on the stage. Is it at all in your mind, if you beat Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., that a matchup with that man, Zurdo Ramirez, might not be far behind?
Yeah, 100%, man. This is what I came here to do, is become world champion and to create one of the greatest sports stories the world has ever seen. Going from Disney Channel to YouTube to world champion in 6 to 7 years, that's the most relatable and best sports story that any kid can get behind, and that's what I'm here to do, is inspire the next generation and do what no one's ever done before in the world's hardest sport, which is boxing.
You faced some hostile environments in the past, the Nate Diaz fight being one of them, but this might be the most hostile you've walked into. Southern California, 2 Mexicans on the card. What do you think about fighting in this type of atmosphere?
Man, the Mexicans love me, bro. Like, I'm stepping into my home environment. They love me more than they love this guy. You know, Mexico doesn't even claim him, so that's just the way it is. And I love my Mexican fans, and they've always been rocking with me since day one. And I'm going to show him who the real Mexican warrior is.
Bob Arum's criticism is rooted in the argument of legitimacy. He believes this fight lacks competitive credibility because Julio is no longer an active fighter and is nearing 40. According to Arum, the bout feels more like an exhibition than a serious contest. He questioned whether Jake is genuinely trying to climb the boxing ladder or just cherry-picking opponents with big names but diminished abilities. To him, calling Jake a real boxer remains premature until he faces someone current and battle-tested.
Jake Paul is not fighting a real fighter. That's not even boxing. I mean, Chavez Jr., you know, should have hung up. I thought he had hung up the gloves a long time ago. Jake Paul is not a boxer. You know, it's a spectacle. The Tyson event was sort of demeaning for the sport of boxing. I mean, Tyson was an old man, and what are we talking about? But again, if Netflix or somebody else wants to pay for that event, so, I mean, that's fine, but I have no interest in it. I have absolutely no interest in a Jake Paul Chavez Jr. fight because it's not boxing.
Julio brings an arsenal of experience that separates him from Jake's former opponents. Coaches and analysts alike believe that his background in real boxing wars will give him a natural advantage. Robert Garcia emphasized that Julio's ring IQ and veteran instincts will come into play. The fight won't depend on flash or hype, but rather on the execution of basic but effective strategies. If Julio is in solid condition, he does not need to do anything special, just perform like he always has.
I love Chavez.
I fucking love that dude. He's cool as fuck. I love that dude.
Okay, if he wins, what does it say?
Nothing.
Chavez is gonna win.
And what does that say if he beats Jake Paul?
Not much, just a good win. A lot of millions of dollars, and then maybe do a rematch, which is bad. Make a lot of money.
Oscar de la Hoya believes Julio's preparation is different this time. He has praised Julio for staying disciplined and taking the fight seriously. From de la Hoya's viewpoint, this is more than just a spectacle. It is a chance to restore respect in boxing. Julio is not coming in for a payday, but to test himself and prove a point. De la Hoya senses that Jake might finally be entering a fight where he cannot control the script.
The expectations,
a lot of
and
pressure.
then, the pressure, and he got involved with drugs and this and that, and he seems like he's doing better and he's doing good. And I've seen him train lately. I've talked to the father, and he says, look, if my son shows up to the ring the way I've seen him in the last few months, I think he said like last 6-7 months, he goes, yeah, he's gonna knock out Jake Paul.
Wow.
I'm like, okay, I'm sure a lot of people would love to watch that and see that. So, don't miss the fight.
Yeah.
June 28th. It's going to be crazy. No, it is. I mean, because Jake Paul actually has... It's not that he has something to prove, but he actually can prove something here. Chavez Jr. went the distance with Canelo, right? In Canelo's prime. And so imagine if Jake Paul knocks out Chavez Jr., then what?
Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. has made his intentions very clear. He is stepping into the ring not just to win, but to put an end to what he calls a trend of Jake Paul disrespecting boxing legends. Fans and former champions have grown tired of Jake calling out retired greats, and Chavez sees this fight as an opportunity to silence the noise with confidence and purpose. He believes he can stop Jake and restore pride to a sport he feels has been mocked.
I respect all the fighters in general. But I don't have nothing significant to respect like Jake, like a good fighter. He's a real fighter. I think so. He's a fighter now. He have 11 fights, but that's it. It's nothing special. He's strong. That's it.
Do you think he respects you?
In what way? I don't understand.
At the press conference, he was trying to get under your skin a little bit, and he's known to do that, right? He tries to trash talk. He was talking to your father and all that, and so I was wondering if you felt disrespected or upset about anything that he said in the press conference.
Yes, a little bit disrespect, because he's supposed to try to enter to a real boxing, is why he started me, because I'm ex-world champion. So he speak too much trash, and try to sell the fight, but I don't like hear that things, I don't know. Jake is good for that, for promote fights and these things, but I really want to find out if it's good boxing for real.
So a lot of people who have fought Jake have tried to sort of, as I said, end Jake Paul, end all of this. They don't like that he's in boxing. Is that a motivation for you to knock him out so that he says, I don't want to do this anymore, so you could be the one to say you got Jake Paul out of fighting?
Yes.
What separates Julio from Jake's past opponents is the threat he still poses. Experts have pointed out that his power, especially in the left hook, remains dangerous. Unlike the controlled setting of Jake's exhibition with Mike Tyson, this match will have real consequences. Julio isn't coming for show, he's coming with pride and pressure. Any lapse in defense from Jake could result in a fight-ending punch that erases all his progress in an instant.